Thanks everyone for downloading this episode of the Nerdball Podcast. I am your host Lorenzo Melcher, coming live from my basement. So here I am. I talked about it in the podcast, but I always say it about doing in-person interviews. It is something I strive for, and maybe I will. As I look in my basement, my wife has moved some things around, and there's a tiny space that maybe I could create a little studio spot in here for guests. So maybe, I don't know. It'd be one of those projects like that I work on, or I start and then I finish it 4 years from now, or never finish it. So that is something I'm thinking about. But until then, here are the Zoom videos, as always, will always be coming out, and that's all I got for you. The Zoom videos, which now, as we're super busy, there's softball, football, my son's football, work for my wife and I. So there's always other things going on. So these Zoom videos make it real easy. Now I just need social media. I need someone to do my social media for me, but I can't pay. So that's why it doesn't get done. So, but anyway, I appreciate all of you for always listening, liking, subscribing, downloading the podcast, watching on YouTube. Up to 155 subscribers, so that's good. There's a story in this podcast that's about to go out. It's a little disheartening to hear about how many subscribers this person has in so little time. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the podcast on YouTube and or anywhere that you're listening to this. That'll help. Write a review, give us 5 stars, whatever's happening on the podcast catcher that you're listening to. Do that there to even help the podcast out even more. So thanks, and I hope you enjoy the episode.
I'm Anthony Martinez, and this is the Nerdball Podcast.
This is the Nerdball Podcast with Lorenzo Melcher.
Hey, Anthony. Thanks for coming on the podcast. I always enjoy people who have been on a podcast multiple times because we don't even have to banter in the beginning. I just all right, let's go. So we can just talk about what we're talking about.
Yeah. I kept every time I do this podcast, I always think I'm gonna do the intro wrong. I don't know why. You asked me to do it. I had to sit here for 5 seconds. Wait, what am I supposed to do real quick?
Say my own name.
Wait, what's the podcast name again? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. So I just made a realization. The past 2 podcasts I did 3 different ads, and then I the Nerdball podcast. I'm I plugged straight in with the Ethernet cable on my computer. I'm why has my internet been so bad lately? And I grabbed the Ethernet cable. I go, is this even plugged in? And I looked in the back, it wasn't even plugged in. I'm son of a bitch.
Yeah,
that's why, because I had no internet. It was Wi-Fi. It's such a stupid mistake. It could have made the podcast so much better.
That's how it goes.
Oh.
All computers.
Yeah, and and it's my own fault because we had issues with our router, and so I was just the classic fix of, and I'm sure you tell people this. Have you unplugged it and waited and then plugged it back in?
Mm-hmm.
And I did that, and then I just never plugged it back in. Can you explain, or do you know, why is that a fix for things? Just to unplug it and plug it back in?
No idea. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why it works. I'm guessing a lot of the times with computers, if your computer's been on for a long time,
yeah,
it'll just start doing dumb things for no reason.
Okay.
I don't know why that is. So I know that I'm guessing that's all electronics is they just been on too long. They just don't remember how to work for some reason.
Well, hopefully, as electronics get smarter, the dumb things aren't harming humans.
Yeah. It's probably true.
It killed my dog. Have you unplugged it and plugged it
back? With working in IT, and people get confused when things stop working, and I'm it's a miracle any of this works. If you think about online gaming, you will do something say, or League of Legends, the game I play a bunch.
Yeah.
There's 10 players in the game. So that means if you move your character just one little square, that information gets sent to like the server, and then that gets sent to all 10 people within less than a second.
Yeah.
And like, how does that possible? You have people playing all across America doing this, and it like the game just works. And I don't know. The amount of pieces of equipment that information has to get sent through is insane. And I don't understand how any of it works. Like everything should be broken. And I don't, it just doesn't make sense to me.
You're right, man. I never thought about that because in Fortnite, there's 100 people. Well,
Mhm.
maybe like 75, a bunch of bots.
Yeah,
But
there was at one point in time 100 people. Now,
yeah. When the technology was worse, there was 100 people, and all that had to coincide. Yeah, that's a good point. That is like, I'm sure there's someone who has like a really brilliant answer, but then even then is like, but at the end of the day, maybe is what I said. Or me and you just sound like idiots, and you can Google it. I don't know.
I mean, you probably could, but
This is much better.
Yes, like knowing the like technical stuff doesn't help you when you're trying to explain it to anybody else.
You're right. Yeah.
Because most of the time, the technical stuff, there's like a bunch of stuff you need to know on top of just knowing like what it does. Like somebody was asking me a question in at work about like what something was that like I said something and they were like, "What does that mean?" And I'm like, "I don't know how to explain this to you." Like I know what it is, but it just takes more technical terms for me to tell you what it is and how it works. So
then
I'm sorry, I can't help you.
Yeah, then they'll say, okay, well then what does that mean?
No, I don't know. No.
Yep. I feel the same way when people don't understand north, south, east, and west. When I'm trying to explain like, well, it's on the north side of that. Well, I don't know where that is. I was like, then I don't know how else to explain it.
I know the directions if I'm in a specific location. Okay, so if I'm at my house, so the way I know the directions is from me remembering when I was in elementary school.
Yeah.
And they told me where like the north side of that elementary school is. So if I know where I'm at in location to the elementary school, I can tell you where the north side is. But then after that, if I don't know where I'm at in relation to that, I'm like, I don't know. Somewhere over there, somewhere. I don't know.
Up. I did just Google it. Why unplugging your device, waiting a full 30 seconds, and then plugging it back in forces the internal computers to restart, clearing out the memory, forcing it to reload and re-execute the device software. So you were pretty close. Basically,
yeah, memory is dumb.
Yeah, it's got a bunch of stuff. Memory is dumb, and you got it. You nailed it.
Yeah.
Anthony, has there anything you've been nerding out? Anything new you've been nerding out about lately?
No, and it's like
perfect.
I'm in the like phase of like video gaming where I'm like kind of over it, but I don't want to be over it, and I just
I was gonna ask you about it.
Struggling.
You made a post on Facebook about it.
Yeah, that was mostly because I only played League of Legends and playing a competitive game when you can't play it all the time.
Yeah,
is not great because a lot of the times you'll be on for like 3 hours and just get destroyed all 3 hours. What did I do? Why am I here right now?
do they don't have what is it called, like competitive balance matchup or something like that?
Well, so they do, but the way the game is balanced right now, you can have a bunch of people who are in the same like they have different ranks. Like there's like iron, bronze, silver, gold. It keeps going up that way. Mm-hmm. So you'll play with people in your like same rank, but sometimes they will get a champion they only play all the time, and then the person you're playing with doesn't know how to fight that champion. So then that champion just gets super strong, and then the game is just over before you can even like do anything. And
okay,
yeah.
So why do you feel like you're going to be done, but not?
Because I enjoy video. Like I have always enjoyed video games, and that's always been like the one thing that I do when I don't have anything else to do. And that's something I could do after my kids go to bed. Like there's, I don't really have anything else. So that's why I'm kind of forced to do this or work out, but I don't want to do that.
Um, yeah, that's tough because that it's the same thing for like I mean we've talked about this before. Is that's when I play video games is late, and yesterday I was sitting on the couch. I'm like, all right, do I? Andrew's watching Suits, which I'm not into. I watch it just because it's proximity, so I'm kind of know what's going on. But so I was like, I can just go downstairs. But then I looked at the time; it was like 11 already. I was like, well, if I go downstairs and play with my friend, we're gonna play till 1. Then I got to for sure set an alarm in the morning. And so then I was like, what, I'm just gonna stay here and probably fall asleep on the couch, and Andrew will wake me up. And I didn't fall asleep, but that's what happened. But it's the same thing. Like it is. I feel the same. I feel the same way. Like when I play Fortnite, I play like once or twice a day because it's when I come downstairs, I put a load of laundry in, and then I sit, I play 1 game or 2 games depending on how I do, and then go back upstairs. So it's like 20 or 30 minute chunks where I just
Yeah.
do it and then I'm out. Or I'll come down, turn a dryer on to fluff all that stuff and get the wrinkles out. Same thing. I never like sit down on it because it is like I feel like I should be doing something else, but it's so much fun. Just like you, like I
Yes.
grew up playing video games, and it's just
Yeah.
it's not going to go away. So
Mhm.
I don't know if that feeling for you is ever going to go away, or if you're just going to at some point you're just going to be playing video games crying.
Yeah. I have, as tough as it's been, I have stopped playing League of Legends
Oh,
for
really?
now. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
There's a different mode on there that's like a different version of the game. It's called Team Fight Tactics.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you ever heard of an auto battler,
No.
but you just pretty much get different, you like buy champions and they all have different traits that go together and you have to like match the traits and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And you face people that way where your champions that you bought face their champions and you don't have to do anything technical. It's as long as you kind of understand the game, like that, you can just play it. So I still play that, but it's a lot less stressful because I'm like the only person. I don't have a team, so if I do bad, it's on me and it's not on other people. So
Yeah.
it's a little easier to play with that.
So when you're playing, you're playing with other people, like random people or friends, like when you would play the other thing or other
Uh,
game mode.
just myself, and then
Okay.
it just puts me against random people.
Do you talk to other people?
No.
Okay. That
Even
would.
I don't talk to anybody unless I know them.
Okay. I always like I'm the same way. Like I'll if I'm playing Fortnite, I'll go with 3 other people, and some people talk, some people don't. And then but I like man, people are terrible.
Yeah, yeah.
But it makes me laugh, like, man, they just don't care what they're saying.
Yeah, it's so funny to me on League when people would like they would add you after the game just to tell you to kill yourself. And I'm just like,
Oh
what
my
the heck?
god.
What is wrong with these people?
Oh my god.
Man, how did I hurt you so much? I didn't even do anything.
Exactly. You didn't do anything.
Yeah. You're useless.
You're like that. You're like that meme. I didn't do fucking shit. Oh,
Exactly. Yeah.
that's good. Oh, you don't play any other video games? It's just that one.
I'm trying to play other stuff now. The other games, like there's a lot of like MMOs and stuff that I play,
Mhm.
but the problem is I don't have enough time to play the game to get to like the end game of these games. Like a lot of the times, like WoW was a game that I played a bunch, but you would have to when a new expansion came out, you have to level your character to that new level,
Mm,
and then you have to get good gear, so then you can do end game stuff,
mm.
and that all takes time, and I didn't, I don't have time, so
You need like just like Super Mario or something.
yeah,
Just those.
yeah. I'm just looking for anything right now. I'm trying old games that I used to play as a kid, like just hoping to find something.
That's what was cool about Mateo's Switch is like playing some of those games. Like I got into Paper Mario for a while when it first came out, and I was playing that. And we play every once in a while. We'll play Mario Party, but those are cool games. And now Xbox. I have I haven't gone fully into it, but I dabbled in like Gears of War because that was I love that game when it came out.
Yeah.
My brother and I used to play it all the time, so play that. And then I come to find out there's like 6 of them now. I'm like, oh my gosh! And that kind of like I was like, well, I guess I'm not gonna. I don't have time for 6 Gears of War.
Yeah.
But maybe you just need something that uh, maybe the part of the video games that you like is actually it's not necessarily what game. It's just being able to play a game. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I I want to play with people, but most of the time people are sleeping when I'm on or they're doing something else. And that's the problem. And then also I don't spend any money. So I can't
Yeah,
just buy a bunch of games and hope I find a game that I enjoy. So I have to like look for free to play for the most part.
that's why I like the Xboxes. Well, it costs money a little bit for the Game Pass, but there are
Yeah.
games like, oh, what's this about or what's that about, But that is a good point too, and that's why I play Fortnite. Fortnite's completely free, and I mean you can buy stuff. I never do,
Mm-hmm.
but that's why I like that. It's because there's no, it's just time, investing time, and there's no money at all. And after so long, everything resets and it's a new season, and everyone's back to zero
Yeah.
now. A lot of players will get up really fast, but it's not terrible. So
Yeah. And there's a lot of changes in that game, right? Where you're constantly getting new items and whatnot to mess
yeah,
around with.
yeah. Mateo got and started getting into it again last week because there was a big update and it was all Marvel. So there's a bunch of Marvel stuff in the game right now. So the only thing I don't like is because his Switch is old. He doesn't use the Switch anymore to play Fortnite, so we play on the same TV and it's split screen.
Oh no.
So I'm not a huge fan of that, but it's still fun. And I've never played a split screen game. Maybe I haven't paid attention, but I'm just used to split screen down the middle, vertical. We play
Right.
split screen, it's horizontal. So he gets like the top half and I get the bottom half. So it feels a little different that way. But when you're actually like playing, you don't even really notice it that much.
Yeah. I
But
don't know if you ever see like the old pictures of people like when split screen was like the biggest thing. Like that's all you could do if you wanted to play with people.
yeah.
And so they would put like a piece of cardboard, like where the screen splits, so the other person can't see where you're at.
Yeah. Man, that's I tell you the best split screen game that I ever played. For a year, I lived with a bunch of buddies in BG, and my dad. I don't know if you remember those old, like when they first came out, those old projection televisions. They were gigantic.
Yeah.
They were wide. That's what my dad let me have it. So we took it down to BG with me and my buddies, and we played Mario Kart in that with 4 people. And that was awesome because it still gave you a big screen to look at
Right,
because the
right,
TV
right.
was so big. That
Did
was the
did you
best.
need like a did you need to get like a truck to take it from?
It
Yeah.
was big, dude.
Had to get a
It was big.
semi. Like,
My dad gave it to me, so here you can have it. And then I was like, all right, well, I am not moving this thing anymore. It's old, and I
yeah.
was able to sell it for $200, and they came and picked it up. So,
Oh wow. Yeah, he probably gave it to you so you'd get it out of there.
oh yeah, it was in the basement. It was in the basement.
Yeah.
So me and a bunch of friends had to get it out of there. So you're probably right.
He's like, I could probably sell this, but then I'd have to put some legwork into it. So I'm just gonna give it to Lorenzo. He'll take care of
Just gonna have my 21-year-old son and his stupid friends take it out of there. Think that they're getting the win on this, and they're not. Yeah.
Yeah. When when me and Amber moved in together, she got a treadmill from her parents. And this treadmill, the treadmill, you know how you have the like the treadmill part and then you have the part like where you control everything?
Where you hang clothes. Yeah.
Yeah. So those two parts you couldn't disconnect them no matter what.
Yeah, yeah.
So we had to move it and you can like make it so the two parts are kind of like connected. They're like together
Yeah.
and we had to move it into the basement and the basement had like a 90-degree turn to the doors. So me and like two other people are trying to get this down into the basement. And then I was like, I want to get rid of this thing, but I never want to move it again.
You just gotta take a sawzall, cut it, and
Yeah.
throw it in the garbage.
Yeah. I was so mad. I was like, oh, it's just a treadmill. We could do this easily. But no, it's
Yeah,
not
I've
fun.
moved. Yeah, I've moved a couple treadmill. Why they always got to be in basements? They're always in basements, man. Treadmills. I moved an elliptical, which is terrible too because there's moving parts all the time.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And if you don't have like the pins, they're constantly moving. You can't lock it in. So
yeah.
my neighbor just sold his house, and I was talking to him, just rambling to Mateo about it. He doesn't care, but I was like, oh, I can't imagine like moving again. Like it is, we have so much more stuff, and to think of like trying to move, not even like okay, not even the buying the house part is like the moving part of it is terrible. When we moved from Toledo to where we're at now, is we left stuff in the basement because we didn't want to move the couches over in there. So here, you can have it. I don't want it.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I can't imagine moving anymore. I'm gonna have to wait till my kids are like teenagers so they can do most of the work.
But I told Mateo, I was like, well, we don't plan moving anywhere. I was like, unless you and your sister move away after high school and you guys are close to each other, then maybe we'll move out there. But I was like, we're not going anywhere. I don't want to go anywhere. But yeah. I talked to my neighbor. We bought our house 10 years ago. I think it was like 175. He sold his house 3 days ago for 360.
Wow.
And it's literally 3 houses away from me.
Yeah. That's the one good thing that like I am looking forward to if we ever do like have to like decide to move anywhere. I'm like, we're gonna get so much more money than we bought this house for.
Yeah. The problem is then you gotta like, all right, well, where, because if you're selling a house for that price, there's probably other people selling houses that you have to buy for that price. It's trying to find like the best thing. And that's why it's like we're not going anywhere. And if we do, it's definitely going to be smaller than what we have now. There's no need to buy something big when there's no one else living here.
Yeah. So that's what I told Amber. Like we have 3 rooms besides our room, and we have 3 kids. I'm like, okay, that's it. We're done.
we can't do it anymore. It's all right. We're growing up. I lived in Toledo. We had my parents, and then it was me, my older brother, my 2 younger sisters, and we had 2 bedrooms. So, no, we had 3 bedrooms. I mean, we had 3 bedrooms. My uncle lived with us, so he had a bedroom. My parents had a bedroom, and then me, my older brother, and my first sister all stayed in one room. And then my baby sister came along, and my brother got kicked to the. He had a bed in the living room. That's where we were at, man. And then when my uncle moved out, instead of like, oh, finally someone else can get a room, or we put 2 boys in one room or something. No, my parents took the wall out and just expanded their room and made a big master room.
That's amazing.
All right, so now we got 3 in 1, person sleeping in the basement, and but when you're actively living through that, like it's just life, and you're just like, all right, this is what we do. Like, no thought in my mind did I ever think like this is the worst thing ever, or this is terrible. Like, it was still a good home, and we were safe, and we had a bed, and it just, as I get older, I'm like, Dad, I don't know if you remember that joke I used to have where I talk about my dad remodeled our bathroom, and then for like years we didn't have a doorknob. There was just a hole in the door. And then as a kid, I was like, man, maybe doorknobs are just really expensive and we can't afford it right now. I just asked my dad about that like a month ago, and he doesn't have an answer on why. I don't know why.
Yeah, that's good. That's like a classic dad move, to start remodeling something and just like never get it done. My dad took like 7 years to get the bathroom done.
That is. I've been working on a patio in my backyard for about 5 years. So maybe my dad got frustrated because he was doing a bathroom. He put a new linoleum floor down, and then my older brother lit cotton balls, set them on fire, and just dropped them on the floor and melted the floor. So guess what? You guys don't get a doorknob now.
Oh, so you can blame your brother for all of
it. What made it really, really bad too is like some restrooms are small where the door is literally there. You can, if you're using the restroom, you can reach your hand. And this was, you walk in the restroom, there's a closet, then the sink on one side, the shower, and then the toilet was way on the end of the restroom. So if someone we would shove a sock in there. If someone poked it, someone's watching you poop, man.
And you can't even do anything about it.
No, you're just there.
That's great.
You're just there, man.
I've heard of the sock on the doorknob, but not as the doorknob.
Yeah, man. It was a time to be alive. You're on your toes. I felt like I was back in caveman days where I had to beware of my surroundings when I was taking a shit.
Yeah, you have to like put like a shoe in front of the door or something so nobody can open it.
Why does it take you so long to go to the bathroom? Because I got to build a fortress around the door. That's why.
I have to run around the house, make sure everybody's busy so I can go.
Make sure everyone's busy. Oh man. Yeah, my dad, we had a deck in our backyard that got ripped up one summer, just the decking part of it. And I don't know, for about 3 years there was no decking and a lot of bruised shins because we were kids. We always just ran around it and messed around and blasted our legs on that thing all the time, falling through.
One time when we were younger, my dad was playing hide and seek with me and my nephew, and he was a little drunk, so he was like kind of going extreme, and he climbed under our deck and was like hiding under the deck. And then when we eventually found him, like, I don't know if he was like faking this or if he was like really stuck under the deck.
Oh no.
It took a while for him to get out. And then another thing he did is he hid on the roof and we couldn't find him forever. And then one of his friends just randomly showed up and he had to like climb off the roof while like trying to introduce himself to his friend.
Like, wait, what are you doing up there? Oh, that roof I've been working on for 9 years. I gotta. Do you ever think about getting? It's all time, but do you ever think about like, man, I wish I was telling jokes still?
I do think about it every once in a while. I'll like randomly like make up a joke, like I'll be like in the shower or something, and then think about like life, and then like make something into a joke, and I was like, well, that's never gonna get told to anybody.
Oh, I just did that this week where I had Andrea she was looking at something on TikTok or something, and she's like, "Gosh, I'm so easily impressionable. I just looked at a TikTok now. I want to go to Walt Disney World or whatever it was." And I was like, "Man, there's a premise right there too." And then like I started messing with it a little bit. I'm like, "What does it matter?" Like you're right. It's still fun. I'll write stuff every once in a while, like real quick things, and but I have two little venues where if I wanted to, I know I could like anytime I could probably call Dave because he has asked me before, like, hey Dave, can I come on your Crumbly Cup? I've done that once, and he's asked me a couple times, but I couldn't do it. And then my brother-in-law went, he had a venue where sometimes we do shows there too, so I can always like scratch that itch a little bit without like diving too much into it,
Right.
So and Joe too, Joe Morgan, he has an open mic where I can go on there everywhere. So I think it is one of those things where it's like if I ever feel like it or I have like 5 minutes, I just want to get out and see what people think, I could easily do that and then just go back to regularly scheduled programming. But it's it is like a little frustrating, like to hear you say like, well, I guess no one's gonna hear that, like to know that it's like, oh man, I thought it was pretty good, but whatever.
Yeah,
you're right.
Right. But I just remember like towards the end of me doing comedy, I was doing like once every like month or maybe 2 months. And I would go, usually it would be after one of my college classes. And then I'd go to Home Slice in Toledo.
Yeah.
And then bomb for 5 minutes. And then just sit there and like watch everybody else do well. And I'm like, what am I doing? Like, why do I keep doing this? Just once a month, I go and be bad at comedy for no reason.
Yeah, there was a time where there was quite a few things around here, stuff that you were running and Keith, and there was that
Mhm.
cigar bar in Waterville. Like there was a lot of things happening, and it was easy to find and do something. And even if it is like once a week, but there's like 6 opportunities that week, and you can pick one that you wanted to do. And it was fun, and there's still some of that. And I think if there's less people that I know that are willing to like actually run a room where that's the most difficult part. Around here
Mhm.
it's Joe and Dave, and even Dave's isn't an open mic. Like Dave's is legit shows. Like he's doing legit comedy
Yeah.
shows, man. And so it's there isn't spots for that all the time, and which whatever. It's Toledo, and we got what we got, and have you ever, man? Dave's shows are awesome, by the way. Like he
I
does a
have not.
oh
I have
he
not gone to one.
he does a great job. I went to, like I said, the Crumbly Cup. That place was like packed with so much where they moved venues because like so many people wanted to come, and it was a cool night. And but he's doing a good job, man. And like I said, it's a lot of work, and it's kudos to him because I couldn't do that.
Is there a bit that you think about from somebody like all the time, even
Oh
though it
yeah,
was
oh yeah,
like 10 years ago or something?
dude. I was just gonna say this. I'm glad you said that. Uh, Mike Mike Czar's joke, and he never told it. And I I heard it one time, and I never forget where he started talking about. I forget the premise on how uh like like how he tied like stereotypical things to certain races or something, and he
Mhm.
the punchline was always like, I don't know, guys, it's getting because it was like, what if he's what if like black people liked helicopters and like that was their thing? They like loved helicopters, and then like you're at a party and you're like, guys, maybe we should get out of here. It's getting pretty windy in here, if you know what I mean. I love that joke, and he never told it, and it was one of my favorite jokes.
There's
Oh.
Ryan Chernick had a bit about being a lifeguard, and every time I take my kids swimming, I think about it because like the the end of the bit is like him like going up to parents and like if they like take in too much water, he's like, your kids may take a nap and then they will never wake up. And I think about that all the time. Every time I take my kids swimming, I'm like, oh no.
Oh my god. That was my favorite. And comedians talk about it all the time, but like going to this the same open mic, like I even though it was late, I really liked going to the one that you ran at that hookah bar. It was
Mhm.
late. I mean, but it was fun, and I liked listening to you if I would go a couple weeks in a row because it forces you to like do new shit, and it's like, all
Yeah.
right, let's see what kind of stupid stuff Anthony's got going on, like because like it is hard to like, all right, I need a new minute or whatever.
Right.
Like it's
Right.
hard to do, and it was cool to see her. I was always impressed because that's I didn't have time to always like do new stuff, and running the room makes you makes you do new stuff.
Right. Especially because me and Mike would always start the show together.
Mm-hmm.
So there's sometimes where something happened and like, okay, this could be a bit, but instead we're using it to open the show because we're trying to make it like start the show off good. So we have
Mm-hmm.
to start the show with something, and half the time, like, oh, that could have been a bit, but instead I have to use it for this to open the show to keep like get the show going.
Yeah. Did you ever obviously it ended at some point, but like there was probably a very high point where like, man, this could be forever, and this is awesome, and this is like I was like everyone's doing that, and when they run in the room, and then a lot at some point they all just end, and it's like like that feeling of like this is forever, almost like you're in a new relationship, and you're like, yeah, I love this person,
Right.
and this is gonna be forever, and it's I I don't know how to not feel that way, you
Yeah.
know.
So I have like two moments where the moment where I thought this could be forever is when we did a like a recorded show on the patio,
Mm,
and like we had like a specific theme, and we had specific people do it, like tell a story, and then like we packed out the patio, and I was like, man, this we could like do this forever. We could do like multiple of these recorded shows. And then the moment where I knew it wasn't going to be forever is there was a table that was there every week,
uh-huh.
and then they just randomly stopped showing up. I'm like, oh, this is
Uh,
this is done. It's only a matter of time.
the canary in the coal mine there.
Yeah.
That's like I'm sure the first week they weren't there. You're like, well, whatever. Maybe they had something
Yeah,
going on or
yeah.
whatever.
People have lives. Yeah, it's
And then
okay.
you're like, wait, they're never coming back.
Yeah.
Damn. Yeah. That's how I feel about this podcast, man. Like, I who was I talking to? Maybe I was talking to somebody at work about it or something. I can't remember, but I was like, there are times where I think about like, you know what? I'm just gonna either take a break for a while or just be done.
Mhm.
But I enjoy the conversations, like the actual talking part of it is what I really enjoy. What I don't enjoy is all the stuff after it, and that's why I don't do a lot of it. Like I
Right,
don't do
right.
social media. I do, and I just, but I like this conversation part of it. It's like, well, can't you just have conversations with people without like podcasting? I was like, sure, but like this makes people like talk about certain things, and that's what I like to do. Like
Right, right. Yeah, like I'm too socially awkward to like talk to anybody. And like when you're doing a podcast, you can like you can you normally in real life you wouldn't like schedule to talk to somebody for like an hour.
yeah,
Like you like message somebody you barely talk to, like, hey, do you mind having a 1 hour conversation with me for no reason? But if you're doing a podcast, they're like, yeah, I'll do that.
you're, that is so true. You're like, yeah, you want to see my basement in the background for an hour? Sure, let's go. Oh man, yeah. And people will ask me like, well, what's it about? And I'm like, well, I just talk to you. I just have a conversation,
Yeah.
and that's pretty much it. And
Yeah,
I
it's like
want to,
whatever
I
you
always
want
want
it to
to,
be.
yeah, yeah. And I always say it's kind of like Joe Rogan, but then I'm like, well, I don't want to. Do I want to be associated like that? But he's also the most popular podcast in the country. Like, if people are more chances than not, people know what I'm talking about, and they're like, oh, okay, yeah. So
Mhm.
it is just a conversation or whatever.
I forgot
Yeah.
what I was watching. Somebody said Joseph Rogan. And they're like, I hate that. Like, yeah, I don't like that either.
Joseph Rogan. Oh
I don't
god.
like the sound of that. No.
Oh man. I always like I'll take notes as I'm podcasting, and I try to think of like at the beginning we talked about video games, and in the note for the show notes it's going to be video game feelings. So like it kind of, and then this one I'm gonna, I don't know if it's trolling people, but I'm gonna put in the show notes ending the podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I've messaged you before about how if I ever see like a 2 or 3 minute video or episode pop up in the feed, I'm like, oh no, he's gonna stop the podcast. Don't do it.
And that's part
Yeah,
of it too. Like I have enough friends where they like text me about episodes, or one time you're like,
Mhm.
hey, you did you know there's an ad running through your in the
Yeah.
middle of your episode? I'm like, so like there's enough people out there where I'm like, well, I know people enjoy it, and it's fun.
Mm.
I enjoy it. It's just other stuff after, and like and well, like today, for example, I'll do this podcast with you, then I have to either decide to edit it immediately, or I have to be on my computer anyway doing like football stuff. I got scouting and things to do for next week's game, for a meeting we
Right.
have tomorrow night or tonight actually. So like there's always more things. So like at some point I'll edit it, and it'll probably be Wednesday night, right before it goes out, and I want to kill myself because it's whatever. But
Yeah.
that's why I don't mind these Zoom videos, is because they're I don't have to do any editing. It's just, it is what it is, and they go out. But the look of in-person videos, man, it's so
Mhm.
nice. And maybe I don't do that because my subscribers aren't going up very high, and I just keep with Zoom videos because it's easier for myself. And then if people decide that they want to keep watching it, then I'm do better. But it's so good. It's so cool to be in person and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, whatever. I did I did feel like I was down on myself. I was talking to someone at work, and they were talking about like I was showing around the park because they were interested in possibly coming and working at the park, and then we started talking about podcasts. She goes, "Oh, I have a podcast." I was like, "Yeah." She goes, "Yeah, it's me and my sister, and we talk about paranormal stuff." And she's like, "We have a couple episodes. We got 10 YouTube videos. We got almost 1,000 subscribers." I'm like, I have 155, and I've been doing this thing for like 2 years.
That's how it goes.
Like, cool. Well, what
Mhm.
what are you gonna do? My kids used to say something like I was like, hey guys, I got 100 subscribers, and then my daughter were like, Mr. Beast has 1 billion.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm your dad. This is me, and this is what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's wild. I couldn't imagine having the influence Mr. Beast has.
I know, and everything's scrutinized too. Like he's been a couple of people he has working for him have gotten in trouble too. So like just dealing with all that stuff, or like just being that famous and in general, like I would feel there's some sort. So I would have to do something good with that, and like it would be a lot of pressure. And I heard from people where like yes, he gives money away, but I heard sometimes it's like a setup, and it's like people he knows, or I don't know. It's I'm sure there's really good in there, and now that people are like digging into him, there's probably a lot of bad rumors coming out. But I don't know.
Right.
I feel a lot of pressure to like do something really good.
Yeah, like from what it seems, he did a lot of good stuff, but like of course everybody's gonna I don't know why, but when the one guy doing good things on the internet is like doing all this stuff and like help, like what did he do? Like 1,000, he helped like 1,000 people with like a vision like surgery or something that like repaired their vision.
Oh, I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, and people were like trying to scrutinize him for that. I'm like, what do you this should not be something people need to do. Like people should be able to just get surgeries without like needing a YouTuber to do it for them. Like
Yeah.
why are you mad at him? You could be mad at the policies going around or anything like that, but no, you're messing with the one guy fixing the problem.
Yeah, this says I just googled it. Mr. Beast surprises 1,000 blind people with surgery.
Yeah, it's wild.
It's a cataract surgery. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How
Yeah,
do
but
you?
you
I couldn't even think of what to like be mad at somebody for doing that for. Like,
well, people always get mad at these TikTokers who there's a couple that I follow where they'll go and like they'll go into a restaurant and say, hey, I need 1,000 pizzas or whatever. And like,
yeah,
oh, what's going on? I was like, oh, I'm feeding the homeless. And then he goes to feed the homeless and then comes back and like gives them a tip or whatever. And people are in the comments are like, you're feeding the homeless just so you can make money. It's like, yeah, where do you think the money comes from for getting
yeah,
1,000
really,
pizzas?
yeah,
Like it's all one circle here. Like, why can't you just
right.
do something good without filming it? Like, well, then I would only be able to do something good one time. And
Yeah, unless
like
I'm like a millionaire, I couldn't like this isn't sustainable.
yeah,
So if I make money off of doing it, then I can continuously do it. But
there's
yeah,
got
it's
to be an
just
income stream,
mhm.
Man. So we we it's funny, we talked about not playing video games, not doing comedy anymore, not doing podcasting. Like what do we want? We
Yeah.
just sit around and be schlubs.
Yeah, I was thinking about like wanting to pick up doing like playing an instrument. And I was like, I always wanted to do drums, but I'm like, no, that's first of all, it's like a big investment. Like
Talk about
it's
moving a treadmill. You gotta be moving drums around.
and then second of all, like I don't have a place in my house that I could like play drums in the middle of the night and not wake every single person in my house.
Dude, one of my roommates when I lived in BG played the piano, but he would plug headphones in so you couldn't hear it at night.
Yeah.
But you could hear like the keys pressing.
Yeah.
I was all the way on the other side of the house, but I one of my friends, other roommates, shared a wall with him, and he always just laughed about it. Like you could hear all the clicks from all the buttons. Instruments
Yeah,
always intrigued me as well. Like I played the saxophone for a couple years in like 5th and 6th grade or something, and we had to pick an instrument, and that's the one I picked. And but yeah, it's another like any hobby you do, especially now at this point in our lives, like you got to really love it because it takes so much time usually. and
Mhm.
I don't know, what there's so many things I like even when I do this podcast and I ask that question, people are like, oh, I do this, like, man, that sounds fun, I want to do that, but it's like, but when there's no time. I
Mhm.
flirted with the idea of doing a podcast with Andrea where we found her a hobby, and it was her like just doing different things all the time. Like,
Yeah.
for a couple of weeks, she would do this thing, and and then we'd talk about how if she liked or didn't like it because she doesn't have a hobby. And I am getting excited though because she has getting more involved with our daughter's baton, where she's like
Mhm.
one of the main moms there, and she helps coordinate stuff, and she's more involved in the fundraisers and all that kind of stuff. I was like, good, like she's, I'm always doing these things, and she's just like when I was doing open mics, I'm like, all right, I'll see you tomorrow because I'm coming home at 1 a.m. Like it, but now like she does stuff too, so it's good because I think hobbies are important. Like you got to be able to do something. That's why I asked that question, right? You got to find something to occupy your time, and you know, apparently video games is making you sad now, so I feel bad.
When you said that she was like getting into the baton, I was thinking
Oh
like
no.
she's like doing the twirls and stuff right next to your daughter.
She does. My out in our yard, they'll do stuff. My daughter likes teaching her, but that's funny. And competing,
Sorry,
our first ever mother daughter team.
sorry, I can't take you to your your game. I have my own that I have to do.
That's funny. Uh, Anthony, are we ever gonna? I think it's mostly my fault, but are we ever gonna do our podcast?
Yeah, eventually, I don't. I
There was a
keep trying to like write more, but then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna write an hour a day, and then I don't.
I also been trying to think of like, okay, what could make it easier for us to do in like, so that I try to look back on all the podcasts I listen to and like different formats and how they have stuff set up and like what they do and and I was like, maybe it'd be easier if it's like it's still our story format, but we make the episodes really short, not like 3 minutes, but like
Yeah,
short where we either can put a whole season out or it's less strenuous on us where we have to like fill like, hey, 35 minutes or whatever. Like,
I think the biggest problem is we're trying to do the hardest type of podcast. You have to
yeah.
have, like you have to coordinate with like other people to do it, and then you have
Mhm.
to put everything together properly and probably add like sound effects and stuff in the background to add more to it. So yeah, we're we're being ambitious with this.
I just don't know, like, because those are my favorite podcasts, and dude, I've been all over Seven Lamb now, listening to all those podcasts from
Really?
Tower 4. Yeah, yeah, there's some good ones in there. There's one I just started listening to last weekend. Um, so I did the Tower 4, and then there's another one called End of something. I can't remember what it's called right now. Anyway, I did all of that one too. I don't know if it's like End of the World or End of something. I don't know.
Is that the one where they're at like a conference and then like there's a bunch of meteors or something like
Yes,
that?
yes.
Okay.
Um, and then I was looking at some other ones. I couldn't. I started a couple other ones and I couldn't get into them very much. Um, but then because I belonged to the Facebook group for like Seven Lamb Studios,
Mm-hmm.
and they talked about one called Story. I'm like, oh, what's this about? And it's based on End of All Hope is that other one, by the way.
Okay.
But it's based on in real life the guy who runs this, I forget his name, um, walked from, I think he said walked from Oregon to Florida. And so it's a podcast based on that where there's some true stuff in there, but some of it's fiction too. So I just started listening to that one. It's pretty good. And that's kind of where I got the idea of like, all right, well, can we do like 12-minute episodes? Will that make it a little easier for us or, um, but because those are like shorter ones.
Mm-hmm.
But Yeah, all that stuff on. There's a lot of really good stuff on Seven Lamb Studios.
Yeah, I'm like trying. I'm trying not to add any more podcasts to what I listen to right now because I already listen to way too many podcasts. And like half the time when you listen to a podcast, the people who do the podcast like only podcasts. So then they're like, "Hey, I have this other podcast that I just started." Like, well, I like this person. Maybe I should go check this podcast out. And there's like 15 podcasts later. I'm like, what is what's going on? I don't I don't know what to do. You got too many
Yeah,
podcasts.
yeah. So I follow a lot on my podcast. I think the Pocket Cast, my podcast app, and then sometimes I'll go through like there's a bunch that I don't listen to, but if I have like extra time or if there's a guest, if someone's interviewing someone and I want to listen to it, I'll put it on. Or at the end of the week, if I have to mow the yard and I've exhausted my podcast, and I'll go back and like, all right, well, let's see what this one's about today or
Mhm.
whatever. Like but there's some I listen to whenever they come out, and some I if I have time I do, and if not, then I won't. Or in the case of this Seven Lamb, like Tower Four, I would just blast through them on the weekends when I was outside doing stuff, and that's all I would listen to. So, but yeah, it can be a lot of work trying to figure out like which ones or what's good one, what are the good ones, or which ones you really like.
Yeah, I've had a couple podcasts that I've listened to that like switched hosts for one reason or another.
Mm-hmm.
And then like I just couldn't listen to it anymore because it's just not
It's
like
not the same.
just adding like changing one person and all of a sudden the podcast is completely different. I'm like, man, this is so weird. I don't know.
Yeah, and I'm sure they see that too. Like, wait, did we make a mistake? What happened?
Yeah.
Can we try to bring that person back?
Yeah. There's this podcast that I started listening to called Free with Ads,
Mm-hmm.
which was like a podcast I would love to do where they just find whatever movies are free, usually on YouTube, like free
Yeah.
with ads on YouTube, and then they'll like review those movies. Like that'd be awesome. And then sometimes when they review a movie, I'll like, oh, I want to go watch that. And then I start watching it. And I'm like, oh, this is why it was a free movie.
Like the review's too good.
Yeah. It's just like sometimes like, yeah, this is well, they'll be honest with the reviews, and I'm like, oh, maybe that could be interesting. And then
Okay.
it's like, oh no, they only talked about the good stuff that happened to that.
Those podcasts are fun. It's just adds an extra layer of like, all right, like for this, we can't just sit down and talk. Like we have to like do homework,
Yeah.
before we start that. Like I really enjoyed when you did that podcast about the movies, and that was fun, and I kind of enjoyed like watching the movie again and going through and writing notes and that kind of stuff. And
Right.
but I would imagine as the host or as someone who actually has to do it every week or 2 weeks or whatever, you're like, all right, this person picked the movie. I have no interest in the movie whatsoever, and
Yeah.
I don't want to do it.
Yeah, there was one movie that someone picked that it was like super weird where it was like like an 80s or a 90s movie, and they had like a teenager hooking up with like a 25 or a 30-year-old, and I'm like, okay, I can't I can't do this movie.
Can't be associated with this.
I'm like, I feel weird about this. So we're gonna have to pick a different movie because I can't do it.
That's why I also like streaming. Like I did Twitch a couple times I just wanted to see like how to set it up and that kind of stuff, and it's fun. And I watch people do that stuff too. And we were actually just in the coach's office yesterday, talking. I don't know. Mateo was in there, and one of the coaches said something like, "We always try not to cuss when there's kids in there, but just whatever, it just happens." And I was like, he's lost in his own world. He doesn't even know what's going on. And someone's like, yeah, he's probably. Are you watching Roblox or watching somebody play video games? I'm like, hey, I was like, hey, I don't know about you, but I do enjoy that, and I kind of equated to they didn't go this far, but I was like, hey, we watch NFL football games, we watch basketball games. I'm
Right.
just watching somebody play a different type of game. Like it's still to me,
Exactly.
it's still the same. It's
Yeah.
just and I like it because I mostly watch it for the commenting on the game and the interaction with the chat group. It's
Right.
fun.
Right.
It's fun.
Or you'll find like a trick on a game that you've been playing.
Mhm.
You're like, oh, I could have been doing it this way.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you say you were talking to coaches?
Yeah, in our coach's office.
Yeah, they probably watch more high school football than than most people watch video games. Like,
I
what?
know. I want to make a joke. It's like, guys, we just literally just watched the game we played last night. That's what we did with no actually, there is commentary. We are commenting on how we did. All that's missing is a camera set up.
Yeah.
Ooh, there's so many good, like when I used to be a baseball umpire, football coach now, like there's so many like good podcasts or books that could be written about things like that, where
Right.
like I always think about doing a football podcast during the season. I was like, hey, every Monday, just bring players on, talk about the game and what's coming up next or whatever, like again, it's a lot easier to do that kind of stuff when they're just talking, and talking about stuff that happened that happened because you were there. And make an easy conversation. But I always have these ideas like, man, I just wish I could like do these things all the time, because if we are independently wealthy, I'm not going to say it would change where we're at in our process with our own podcast, but it would help, right?
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, you were talking about coaching. My son is doing soccer right now, and for the first like 3 weeks, they've been doing conditioning.
Yeah.
And he's a 6-year-old, and these coaches are taking it like way too serious. They're like, hey, you got to stop her. You can't give up. Just keep on going. And they're like, you shouldn't be stopping already. And I'm like, they're 6. What do you want from them? They're 6-year-olds. Like,
has he played soccer before?
Yeah. He didn't show like a lot of interest in it, but like this one's for his school now, so he actually like will know the people on his team instead of we were doing it at the Y, so he didn't like, it's just a bunch of strangers basically.
Yeah. That's you always, because I've coached little kids and all the way up to high schoolers, and trying to find that balance of like, all right, where are we at? What type of organization is this? Where are we at with as far as all the kids, and how coach speaky can I be, to all these kids, but I don't know. And I don't know soccer enough to be like, I mean, how they were saying it probably go like, come on guys, you can't be stopping right now, is a lot different than let's go, come on, quit. Don't quit. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's probably the tone of the first one, and then the like the wordage of the second one.
Okay.
Not super aggressive, but like more serious than we need to be here.
Yeah. It's hard, man. It's have you ever coached anything with your kids?
I probably won't.
Here's what I suggest, and you can do it if you want. Everyone's always looking for us, every organization needs head coaches, but there's always parent roles or assistant coaches. I always suggest to parents, or this is just an overarching thing, where I think every parent at some point is required, much like South Korea makes you join their army for 3 years, as required by state law, that you have to be an assistant coach on one sport for one time. And the reason I say that is because it'll give the parents a little more appreciation on what the coaches do, and that as the kids get older, it's I think it's more important that the parents understand, like, all right, this is I get it, and you don't strike me as the kind of person who's just gonna be like berating the coach because something's happening or not happening.
No,
you're just there, watch your child. And there's a lot of parents like that. There's a lot of parents that are just there to watch their kid, and they might say hello to you, and that's it, But for those few parents that think they could do better, like, hey, you can be a head coach if you want. Feel free, come be a head coach, or try it out. Try being an assistant one time, and it's all, we all volunteer, and it's it's a lot of time, and do you think we're out here trying to like not be good at something? Like, no, we're trying to teach these people things, these little kids things, and it can be difficult sometimes. So that's
one of the one thing that like make me not want to put my kids in sports, is just the idea of this like weirdo parent who's like way too aggressive for no reason. Like, what are you doing, man? We're just trying to watch our kids play a sport. Why are you so upset right now?
And is if your kids keep playing sports, that's bound to happen. Where and not maybe not even the aggression part, but just a coach that isn't good at coaching. And they don't last long. Like I've seen plenty where like, yeah, this coach isn't good, and then no one ever hears from that coach again. Like he's a parent and is never coach again. So like that happens too. But I think that's also good for kids to not necessarily be yelled at, but like see other hear other adults tell them what to do. Like and as they grow up, that's this life. Like you have a boss or you become the boss, and then you learn from all these people. Like, oh, I remember when I was 10, I had that dude that yelled at me constantly. I am definitely not going to be that person. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
This reminds me. I've always wanted to talk to you about track
Yeah.
because I that's all I did in high school until my senior year. Like
I don't
all
know
I
if I
did
knew
was
that.
track and cross country. That's all I played.
Hmm.
And I wanted to ask you, like, how long did it take for you to do your did you do shot put and discus or
Yeah.
just one?
Shot and
Okay.
disc.
How long did that take? Because those track meets were so long, and I don't think I ever even like watched any of the shot put or anything because I was doing the mile, the half mile, and then sometimes the 2 mile.
Okay.
So like my whole day was like
Yeah.
I had to like do something the whole time. I don't know how long your things took.
So I will tell you, as as a senior, it was very short because before you're a senior, you have to do at least 2 events at Perrysburg.
Mhm.
That's what they said. So I always did shot and disc. Then as a senior, they're like, well, you can only do one if you want. And I wasn't good at disc. So I only did shot put. And I'd go to an invitational usually, or any track meet. Shot put is usually the first thing, either boys or girls, but I can't remember. I think it was boys. And I'd do my thing and I'd be there for, depending on how long the meet is, I'd be there for anywhere between 45 minutes to an hour, and then I was done the rest of the day. That was it. That's all I did. I would
That
hold
sounds
blocks.
that sounds nice.
Yeah. I would hold blocks for usually the girls 100 or 200, and and then that's it. So I yeah, it was a very short day, and I enjoyed the social aspect of it definitely.
Right.
But it was I don't know. I that was probably my favorite thing I did in high school of all the sports I did and clubs and stuff. Was track. It was the most fun I had.
Yeah, those meets were so long. It was
Yeah,
ridiculous.
ate a lot of food. Ate a lot of
Yes.
concession stand food. Yeah, brought
Yeah.
snacks. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But Matt, you ran. Yeah, you ran the 800, the 1600, and the 3200. That's a lot. That's a lot of running,
Yes.
man.
Yeah. And those are like all one day. Like uh, the 2 mile wasn't like a super common one, but there would be some days where I'm like, okay, I have to run these 3 races, and I'm running
Yeah.
so many miles in one day.
The two
Yeah.
races that always impressed me were the 400 and the 800. So people that don't know, 400 is one lap around the track, 800 is 2 laps.
Yeah.
Because those seemingly, I don't know, I didn't run them. Seemingly were all out sprints for an entire lap or 2 laps.
Right.
And if I at Perrysburg, they made everybody run the 400 like before the season started. I don't know why. I can't remember why they did that, but everybody had to do it.
Like
So I
even like throwers.
everybody. So I would do my 400 lap, and I was like, man, this sucks. And people and some of our high school kids didn't do it in like 50 seconds, and I was like,
Yeah.
really? Like this? It's very impressive. It's very impressive that to be able to do those two specifically, and
Yeah.
to be able to have to do 3 races like that. That's what is that? That's possibly running 3.5 miles in a day
Right. Right.
fast.
I always wanted like the 800 was my favorite race. I hated the 16 because you just felt like you were just running forever for no
Mhm.
reason. Especially the 32. I'm like, oh, man, this is awful. And even like if we did like the mile in an indoor track, that was like the worst day ever because it's a 200-meter track instead of a four.
Yeah,
So
it's a
you're
lot
running the
smaller.
same track. You're like, man, how many times did I go around this track today? Like, but I loved the 8, and I really wish I was faster, like just physically faster, because I wanted to do the 4.
Yeah.
Like that was the only race I wanted to do, but I wasn't tall enough to be a sprinter, so I had to do the 8.
Dude, I loved watching the 4x4. That was always the last race.
Mhm.
Sometimes that's what the meet came down to, and everyone knew it. Like, all right, our team has to win the meet, and that was a lot of fun. A lot of fun to
Yeah.
watch. Again,
I remember one day I almost got to do the 4x4, and I was like so excited for it because like one of the runners maybe weren't going to be able to do it. It's like awesome. They're like, all right, you want to try it? I'm like, yes, I want to try it. And then they ended up doing it. So then I just didn't get to do it. I was all
like,
sad.
damn it.
This is my chance to prove myself.
I did run the 100 one, like in a legit meet. For as big as I am, I was pretty fast. So I ran the 100. And then I messed up my leg, like I strained a muscle or something. And I didn't want to tell my shot put coach because I hadn't thrown yet. So I had to like go throw with my leg all messed up from sprinting this stupid race that no man my size should have been doing.
Did you do it? Like, did you have to do it, or it's just like?
No,
hey,
I asked if I could do it.
Okay.
Yeah, they put me in one of the heats. I don't know, probably one of the last heats, but yeah, I wanted to do it because like I said, I was fast for my size, and I wanted to see if I could beat some of these other guys. And some of the meets too had they call them Fat Man relays, where the throwers would do a 100 4x1. That was fun too. I did that a couple times.
That's great.
So, yeah, that was. Well, Anthony, this has been another hour flying by, and I am more depressed than ever coming out of this conversation. But
all of the things we can't do anymore.
No, it is good. It's always good to talk to you. And I don't know, have you looked? I don't know how many episodes you've been on here. You might be close to our.
I think this is 4,
our
3
mythical,
or 4.
My mythical 5-timer prize club that I haven't.
I know once I heard about it, I had to get on the podcast a couple more times.
There's one guy. I don't think he listens. He's been on the podcast officially 4 times, but that 5th time I had to take the episode down for multiple reasons, but I had to take it down so it doesn't exist. So it's only been on 4 times, and it's 4.5. I always say 4.5. I was like, you're not in that 5 club, man. Sorry.
No one will know it was 5.
And he's a good friend of mine, and he's never asked to like come back on. So I think it's so funny.
Yeah.
And I have other people, like the person I just put an episode out with last week. She's trying to beat him now. So. Well, cool, man. Well, thanks again for coming on here. It's always great talking to you, and for you call yourself socially awkward.
Yeah,
but that doesn't come off here, man. You're awesome to talk to, and I'm sure this is how you are with friends. Like,
yeah.
But it is when you asked to come on, I couldn't say yes fast enough because you're a good dude, and you we always have good conversations. So thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, thanks for letting me on.